I like to hear it. Thank you. So, hi everybody, welcome. I want to talk today about sort of really the enterprise and institutional view of privacy and the massive opportunity and return on investment that is there. I think for the most part, large companies are not used to a world where privacy is not standard. And the fact is that I don't think we will ever get really substantial on-chain usage until privacy is widely available. At the end of the day, whether you're a professional institutional trader or you're a large enterprise, you don't want to be telling your competition what you're doing, what you're buying, how much you're paying for it, where it's going. It's actually relatively straightforward. Now, I'm going to start with the punchline because I think everybody wants to know the numbers. And one of the things that is underappreciated is privacy is not just to keep your transactions secret. You also need to keep the terms of your business agreements as well. But automating smart contracts, if we can move to a world where enterprises and others can transact in an automated way, the return on investment is absolutely massive. And I want to give you just one very good case study. EY built for Microsoft a set of tools and smart contracts for the Xbox video game network. It's actually relatively straightforward. Microsoft signs thousands of contracts with other companies every year, and keeping track of those contracts and all the rules is difficult. What happens is we took those contracts, we turned them into smart contracts, automated the key business terms and conditions, and the result was enormous. 99% less time to calculate the books at the end of each month. Roughly half the operating cost, and this was for the prototype version more than 5 years ago, right? And significant improvement in sort of business partner satisfaction. So the return on investment is enormous if you can make it happen. But without privacy, most companies are not going to do this. And this is a good example. We built this for Microsoft on a private permission chain, and it only runs inside of Microsoft. So we're only getting, in my opinion, those numbers there, they represent a fraction of the total value creation that's possible by implementing privacy. So what do companies require in the way of privacy for on-chain contracts? The answer is all business agreements basically come down to this. Money is exchanged for stuff under the terms of an agreement. In a financial market, it's usually a swap, but in the business world, there are actually terms and conditions, and you need privacy for both. At EY, we have been building public domain, open source solutions for the specific purpose of enabling both of these types of privacy, both the payment and asset transfer and the complex business logic. On the payment side, we have built an Ethereum layer 2 network infrastructure called Nightfall. Nightfall is a network, it's an L2, it's a ZK rollup that allows you to transfer assets and make payments under privacy. Right? It's an enterprise only, and the transfers and payments are private but not anonymous. Now, a lot of people think privacy, they think something like Tornado Cash, which is not just private, but it's also anonymous. That doesn't work for enterprises, and it generally does not work for regulators. They don't like that. So we've sort of created something kind of interesting in the world of privacy, which is that if you think about a spectrum between identified versus not identified, and between public and private, Nightfall is here. You cannot use Nightfall anonymously. You need an enterprise identity certificate to use it. But when using it, your transactions are fully private, right? And so that's kind of what we see as, this is the space where regulated companies that are happy to be held accountable want to operate. They want privacy, but they want privacy primarily from their competition. And to be very clear, the way we have built Nightfall, there's no backdoors, EY doesn't hold the keys, it's fully public domain, open source, and decentralized based on zero-knowledge technology. And you can actually go and have a look at it at github.com/EY blockchain. We've been working on Nightfall for a while. The original prototype we showed at DevCon in Prague, each transaction at that time needed $100 in gas. So we're really talking a very expensive transaction. Since then, we have gotten it down to version 4, where we can do about 30 cents on the mainnet and about a penny on a layer 2 network. And so version 3, which we could do in 2023, was a ZK optimistic rollup, so we don't have instant finality. Version 4 is a ZK rollup, so we have both privacy and instant finality, and it's actually, we're running it on the testnet now internally, and our goal is to make it generally available in beta sometime before the middle of this year. Now, Nightfall allows you to move stuff around. In addition to that, we built a tool called Starlight. And Starlight allows you to set up complex business rules and actually execute those transactions as a zero-knowledge circuit. So basically, you can create your own customized privacy-enabled zero-knowledge circuit, which is really cool. You just take a Solidity smart contract, you mark up the key components, logic, and variables that you want to keep private, and it'll recompile it as a zero-knowledge circuit. This tool also, public domain, open source, contribution by EY, and both Starlight and Nightfall will basically run on any EVM-compatible network. All right, now, I don't guarantee instantly running. You probably need to take the code and modify it. We are working with a number of L2s right now to consider and work with them for deployment on those L2s as effectively a layer 3 privacy solution. So if you're able to do these things, if we can combine Nightfall and Starlight together, which over time we think we can so they can work in harmony, what can we do with this? And the answer is really, we can run the entire business kind of process end-to-end for an enterprise ecosystem on-chain under privacy. That honestly is my goal. Basically, I want to bring every B2B transaction on-chain. So if you think about a typical manufacturing process, raw materials to support, right? It's complicated, and today it's mostly driven by a whole bunch of silos. And between the silos, we have a lot of very antiquated processes. My favorite is where people send PDFs to each other and then scan them, or print them and scan them. That's one of my favorites. But we still have fax machines. Another really great one is something called EDI. How many of you know what EDI is? I love you EDI people. EDI is as old as I am, which is really old. EDI stands for Electronic Data Interchange. The way I explain it to the kids is that it's basically business-to-business text messaging. And it's cool, it works, but the problem with EDI is that there's no business logic in there. I can tell you it's coming, but I'm really only going to tell you that, right? And if there are 20 other people in my supply chain, it would be awfully nice to know what's happening 2 or 3 stops back. Today, all of this is siloed. Right? We can build a model on chain where every single item in the supply chain is represented as a token, right? And as those tokens move across the chain, I have banking level quality of reconciliation and verification to every piece of inventory. One of the things I talk to a lot of clients about is say, what if you could apply the level of quality and security and reconciliation to your inventory that banks apply to their financial services? The answer is that would be amazing. You would have significantly more accurate inventory data. You could run your business with less inventory at lower costs. We estimate you can run a business with about 20%, a typical supply chain business with 20% less inventory just from moving to tokenization and having full reconciliation end to end. I'm actually really happy to say that last year we did our first end-to-end supply chain traceability pilot where every item in a supply chain was tokenized and transferred under privacy for one of our clients. So super proud of that. I think that's a picture of where things are going. And if you can combine that with automating the smart contract logic, what you end up with is this fully automated end-to-end process where product moves, in this picture, it moves from left to right, and money moves from right to left, and everything is in the same sort of industrialized ecosystem, so reconciliation, validation, kind of all the business terms and conditions are done automatically. And that, to me, is incredibly powerful, right? If we can combine the verification, the reconciliation with the operational efficiency of smart contract automation, what we end up with is an incredibly, vastly more efficient enterprise. We estimate, basically large companies, depending on the company, spend somewhere between 3 and 5% of their annual revenue on basically managing all the stuff that goes on in a multi-company supply chain. You can probably cut most of that in half, if not more. When we add these things together, my hypothesis is that basically blockchains, and to be very clear, in my case, my view on this is the public Ethereum network. Public Ethereum can tie together business ecosystems and do across multi-company networks what ERP did inside the company, right? Make sure that the left hand and the right hand are fully synchronized with each other, right? The miracle of ERP is that in a large place like Walmart or some other big company, you pull the last packet of potato chips off the shelf, it triggers an order. But the issue is almost all of the really cool stuff that companies done in the last 25 years are internal and focused on their ERP systems. The minute you leave the company boundaries, all the cool stuff that we've built, all the automation, all the tools, it kind of just evaporates. And we are back to like, hey, did you get the spreadsheet I emailed you? And that's not very useful. So that's kind of where we are. I'm very positive about where we're headed in this space. The goal over time is to basically combine Starlight and Nightfall. So Nightfall gives you this large-scale privacy-enabled black box, and Starlight allows for customized business logic. And when you can combine the two together, then you can have a fully composable, multi-party complex business logic infrastructure. So that's the overall goal when we're moving in this direction. And I think it's going to take, if we look at our timeline, so the goal is to have Nightfall 4 out this year. We will immediately start work on Nightfall 5. Nightfall 5 will represent the integration of these two capabilities, Nightfall and Starlight. And I'm also hoping we're going to announce relatively shortly the availability of Nightfall through a major RPC provider so that you don't have to have your own ZKP infrastructure. You don't have to build all of that. You can just use APIs, plug it in, and start transacting with privacy on the public Ethereum mainnet. Or I should say, starting with the testnets and then moving to the mainnet. So that brings me to the end of my presentation. No presentation from me would be complete without offering you an EY NFT. And the EY legal department would like me to remind you that these are for entertainment purposes only, and you should definitely not be selling them on OpenSea. And I have 1 minute and 49 seconds left, so are there any questions, complaints, comments? Gratuitous flattery I will also accept. What's that? So Nightfall 4 is written entirely in Rust. Yes, sir. Yeah, you can deploy it on any EVM chain. We will deploy it on the mainnet as an L2, and we are currently working with a number of the L2s and a couple of other EVM-compatible alt L1s to deploy it as an L2 or an L3. It's just that there's some tweaking has to be done to make it work correctly in a particular L2 scenario. We can do it on OP. Version 3 was a ZK optimistic. Version 4 is ZK with instant finality. Yes, sir. So we're EY, so we are shamelessly Ethereum maxis. In my free time, I wrote a book called Ethereum for Business. I am the chairman of the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance. So we are laser focused on Ethereum. We're very pragmatic about that. The reality is that 86% of the world's are real world assets, the vast majority of high-value NFTs, enterprise users, they're on Ethereum. So kind of applying a strategic business logic. My goal is I want to be the best and number one at Ethereum and not worry too much about all the others. Thank you all. Have an awesome weekend. Bye-bye.
Ladies